All right, we're going to try this again. YouTube, happy Wednesday morning. Let's see what we can do again. Video, Patreon, again, take 2, publish now. Good morning, everybody. We're going to try this again. Today is the 30th of December, 2020. Let me restate what I stated earlier for 14 minutes without sound. Thank you so much, YouTube. I did a video, a report, Monday morning, entitled Patriot Clickbait. I got a lot of feedback from a lot of people. Some very good, some bad, and some ugly. So I want to clarify some things before we go any further. I've got 10 points here that are up on Patreon. You can see them up here on your screen. Some points I'd like to make going forward so that perhaps we're all singing from the same sheet of music, or perhaps you understand better where I'm coming from. And we don't have to agree on everything. We don't have to agree on most things. But this might give you a little insight into me and where I'm at. Point 1, the 6th of January 2020 determines if we are a nation with a rule of law or not. We are likely already in without rule of law, given the actions of our elected representatives and the ruling elites. They are not currently following the law as it is. Point 2, I am not going to tell you to go to war. That's your conviction. That's your choice, and that's your calculation to make. Point 3, I will stand up against tyranny where I am at. I see no value for me to go to Washington, D.C. I think and act locally first and foremost, because I get the most return on my investment, my blood, sweat, tears, treasure, and time here locally. I'm the person that has a video titled Why I Hate Politics, and I hate them, make no mistake about it. I'm no fan of the federal system that we enjoy today. But at least I can do something meaningful and purposeful, impactful here at home, near to me. Point 4, I won't fight a war, air quote, without a clear strategy for victory and without clear objectives. These do not currently exist within the Patriot movement. What is the desired end state? What are the lines of effort to achieve this end state? What are the logistical and provisional considerations to perform the functions necessary to achieve the desired end state? I wouldn't build a sandbox or a swing set without understanding, what does the sandbox and swing set look like? Where do we want it? Who's going to use it? How much is it going to cost? Where do we get the materials from? Who's going to build it? What is our maintenance plan for this sandbox and this swing set? Let alone take the country back. And I know there are millions and millions of good people in this country who feel strongly that we need to do something. And I don't necessarily disagree with you, but what I'm telling you is someone must count the cost first. It does no one any good to kid up and go to war if you don't even understand what the objectives of the war are, let alone what your lines of effort are to achieve those objectives and how you will provision and manage those lines of effort. I have not heard a single person discuss this. Not one human being. Whether it be some of the patriot media that's out there or some of the constitutional militia types, no one, or private citizens who are just trying to live their life, no one has actually counted the cost. No one has outlined clearly defined objectives. No one has lines of effort, and no one has any idea how to actually provision and manage those lines of effort. What are they? Point 5, both sides have an agenda. I won't be a pawn for either side. Point 6, I perceive the general public as more of an immediate threat than a contested government. To be clear, a contested government will create massive, irregular, and regular threats, and has the capacity to create significant disruptive threats as well. These are the threats that will be closest to home, and therefore are the threats I take most seriously, because I can do something about them here, where I am at, in actuality, right now. Point 7, my commitment is to my Creator first, and then to my wife, and then to my children. After that, I am committed to those that I love and share a life with, and then to everything else. I very strongly want the United States to return to a constitutional representative republic. And if there is a way I can actively contribute to that, I will. Actively contribute to that, I will. However, at this moment in time, that situation is out of my hands. We are all in a holding pattern until the 6th of January, until we find out, do we have rule of law or do we not? Is there justice in this country or is there not? And while I very, very much so would like for truth and justice to prevail on the 6th, I have to contingency plan for the possibility that that doesn't happen. Point 8, I can exercise my no muscle without kidding up, at least at this point in time. I will continue to refuse the vaccine, to not wear a mask, to operate our businesses, to operate our ministry and to build Caleb House, to function autonomously without the permission of my governmental representatives. I will do this until they make it impossible for a righteous man to function within their system. 9. The courses of action that I will take when I am unable to function within their system are outside the scope of this document and will not be discussed on open channels. And 10. The world has changed. We must adjust our OODA loop. Observe, orient, decide, act. And I would submit that most people are still simply observing They have not even oriented on the fact that since the beginning of 2020, things are different, let alone decided what they are going to do about it and then taken action. Even many of us that are awake, that have been red-pilled, are still observing and are still depending upon others to take action on our behalf. And right now, on the macro level, that's perhaps all we can do. But on the micro level, us, our family, our community, there's lots that we can and should be doing. We must adjust our OODA loop to understand the moves that are being made on a global scale. The calculus is different given the COVID-19 pandemic and resultant tyranny that has ensued. We the people may wrestle control back from they here in America. But make no mistake, that is the beginning of a fight on a global scale, not the end. What comes next? War, food scarcity, civil unrest. We can and should withstand this onslaught against our God-given rights and live to the best of our ability as free men and women. But to do this, we have to be fiercely independent of the broken system that will result from this global conflict. This is big picture stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Who here can articulate the commander's intent? I can't. I don't know what is actually trying to be achieved on the 6th. I don't know what our they, or their they, actually want us to do. I can guess at it. I can opine on it. But until there are clearly defined goals, what are any of us actually capable of doing? We can stand up. We can raise our voices. And perhaps we should. What's next? What happens after that? These are the things I want people to consider. Actions have consequences. And that it's not that I'm unwilling to risk my life. It's that I'm unwilling to participate in unorganized folly. If you're going to fight, you fight to win. You have to understand what winning looks like. You have to clearly define the goal. And I have not met or heard of a single person that can do that beyond, we're going to take the country back. Roger that. What does that look like? Well, I don't know. Well, how do we do that? I'm not really sure. What are our lines of effort? What's a line of effort? How are you going to manage and provision those lines of effort? And so forgive me if I'm sober and logical about the idea of millions of people taking up arms without a clearly defined mission. No, I won't participate in that. That makes me no less a patriot than anybody else. We'll leave it at that for now. Segment 1. COVID vaccine is essentially useless. Good morning, chat. appreciate y'all being here. We're up to 108.3 thousand, I believe. I appreciate y'all being here. Thank you. If you find value in what we do here, please give this a thumbs up. Share this out to people you think that might enjoy it. And if you're new here and just watching, subscribe. That helps us in our battle against the YouTube algorithmic robots. You can find us on Patreon. As you can see, YouTube and I don't. Intel staff, good morning, Intel staff. The Dance Monkeys, clap hand for the Dance Monkeys. OFC Nation, good morning. You are exactly right. You must know the objectives and the supporting objectives. Thank you, brother. Patreon.com, you can find us there. It's $1 a month or $10 a year. Not only does it function as the backup for our YouTube channel, there's between 30 and 100 exclusive pieces of content there per month, including content that we cannot, due to YouTube's community guidelines, post here, including training, firearms. Just did a video on the El Presidente drill at the range this morning, gear reviews, homestead content, the whole nine. It's all over there on Patreon. $1 a month, $10 a year will get you started. Go to patreon.com, search for Bear Independent, you'll find us. And intel at bearindependent.com. Please email us your reporting from out there in the world, what you are experiencing, your actionable intel. We very much so would appreciate it if you would continue to reach out to us at intel@bearindependent.com. And also your silver linings. I very much so need to know the good stuff that is happening in your life so I can share it with everybody else. So please continue to send in your silver linings. Dudley, Phelps, good morning. Patriot Plumber, good morning. Matt Storms, good morning. All the Blue Wrenches, Intel staff. Mad Kelt, good morning, good morning, good morning. Tommy Salter, good morning, brother. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for striving with me as I do my best to bring you my convictions and what I feel is right. I appreciate it. I really, really, really appreciate it. Mums 400, good morning. Badger, good morning. Brief note, sometimes you get a cool cup that looks like this sent to you from an awesome viewer, and then you put it too close to a fire, then it ends up looking like this. But now it's even cooler because it's been through some shit. So, disastercoffee.com. Your coffee cup might be a disaster, but your coffee doesn't have to be. Moving right along. Charles Sutton, good morning. Stay humble and kind. Amen. I'm working on it, brother. Segment 1, COVID vaccine is essentially useless. Reporting from the Dance Monkeys right here. This posted on Patreon yesterday. Thank you, Monkeys of the Dance. If we could get a clap hand for all the Monkeys of the Dance, we appreciate you deeply. I love getting the contact that we get from the Bear Nation that's like, man, your dance monkeys are awesome. And I'm like, man, thank you. You don't even know the half of it. So, Bear Independent current issues, 30 December 20. December is reported to be the deadliest month for the virus, but Dr. Fauci is warning of a January surge from the holidays. Quote, we just have to assume the pandemic is going to get worse, end quote. Unsurprisingly, Biden's COVID-19 advisors agree, warning that the U.S. should brace itself for one of the worst months in this nation's history in January. Can't wait. Again, act locally. Think globally, act locally. Isn't that something hippies used to say back in the day? Well, it matters. Assuming these statements are foreshadowing, this will lead to more and harsher lockdowns and subsequent economic distress and or more aggressive rollout of vaccinations. Prepare accordingly. In the last few weeks, vaccinations have been rolling out on a voluntary basis. Some examples from the Bear Nation, and I love this from y'all. Thank you for reaching out, intel@bearindependent.com. Quote, I work as a paramedic in North Carolina. We were offered, not mandated, a COVID vaccine this last week. First off, only about 60% of providers have agreed to take it, far lower than what they expected. There was a video Q&A session with their leadership and they were asked why not. The response was basically, we just want to give you the information and trust that you'll make the right decision. Good for you, providers. Another from the Bear Nation, quote, my part-time job is offering the vaccine for free and is voluntary at this point. We have staff who work at the local county hospital, which is why the vaccine is available to us. Another says, quote, I work for the county and was told because as a bus driver of public transportation, we will qualify for early vaccination. I was told it would be voluntary at this time. I know for a fact at least 50% of us won't take it. Amen. Good job. Another data point. A hospital worker from Florida sent attachments which are available on Patreon and came to this conclusion. After reading these emails, who in their right mind would want this vaccine? It doesn't prevent transmission. Let me repeat. Who in their right mind would want this vaccine? It doesn't prevent transmission. You may still get a virus that you might only have had minor symptoms from anyway. The vaccine may actually cause symptoms or worse yet, anaphylactic shock, and you still have to wear a mask. Yeah. I had a brother on my back porch last night who said, you know, I've got a lot of appreciation for President Donald Trump. He's done a lot of wonderful things. But let's not lose sight of the fact that one of the things that I'm the most concerned about, this vaccine, he was instrumental in with Operation Warp Speed. That's a good balanced worldview in my mind. Trump hasn't mandated the vaccine. I do believe it was politically expedient for him to accelerate the vaccine. And honestly, I think it was probably a distractionary measure by the opposition that he faces to keep him engaged with dealing with the vaccine so that he would be less engaged on other fronts. Four-dimensional chess and all of that. Over here, the World Health Organization, assuming that we can actually pull this article up from Zero Hedge because it has demonstrated that they are trying to take this down. World Health Organization chief scientist warns, quote, no evidence COVID vaccine prevents viral transmission, by Tyler Durden. Once again, Tyler Durden, it's an interesting name. Once again, the World Health Organization has stepped in to offer some confusing comments about the coronavirus vaccine, warning that there is no evidence to be confident shots prevent transmission, and that people who receive the vaccine should continue wearing masks and following all social distancing and travel guidelines. And this is from Dr. This lady right here who has a play button for a nose. She still looks better than Mitch McConnell. Quote, I don't believe we have the evidence on any of the vaccines to be confident that it's going to prevent people from actually getting the infection. I don't believe we have the evidence on any of the vaccines to be confident that it's going to prevent people from actually getting the infection and therefore being able to pass it on, says the World Health Organization chief scientist Dr. Sumia. At the moment, I don't believe we have the evidence on any vaccines to be confident that it's going to prevent people from getting the infection and passing it on. Of course, a close look at the research released by Pfizer and Moderna shows the studies haven't actually tested whether the vaccines actually prevent transmission of the virus. The goal of the trials was to see whether vaccinated patients presented with COVID symptoms at a rate that was substantially less frequent than individuals who hadn't been vaccinated. That's pretty much it. Though the data might hint at lowering transmission rates, that's still to be determined, apparently. So, thanks, World Health Organization. Maybe we'll get lucky and my screen will lock up again. There we go. That's good stuff. So we'll just go off script for a minute. How is everybody today? Fabulous, tremendous. Believe me, it's the best. We have a massive stack of paperwork here that's coming from lots of different Bear Nationals. This is the fact sheet for recipients and caregivers, emergency youth authorization for the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine to prevent coronavirus disease 2019. Well, we just showed you that it doesn't prevent the disease at all. And it's an emergency use authorization, as we've seen from the Pfizer BioNTech paperwork, which is right here. It doesn't prevent anything, and it is an unapproved vaccine that may prevent COVID-19. There is no FDA-approved vaccine to prevent COVID-19. The end. There is no FDA-approved vaccine to prevent COVID-19. There is an emergency use authorization to shoot a whole bunch of bullshit into your arm that hasn't been tested, but there is no FDA-approved vaccine against COVID-19. I also love the fact that we apparently have forgotten all about biology, because back in the day, I was pretty sure they taught us in school. Now, there's a statement you could drive a truck through. Pretty sure they taught us in school that viruses just have to run their natural course, and the best that you can hope for is to support the body as it battles the virus. But that you can't actually vaccinate against a virus. What they typically do with a virus, I should go back to screen sharing, huh? There we go. What they typically do with the virus is give you a small dose of it, and then your body is able to fight off that small dose of it and build antibodies against it so that you don't get much more sick if you encounter the virus in the wild. That doesn't even seem to be what these vaccines are doing. But hey, I don't know. New York governor announces executive order on vaccine fraud crackdown. This guy here is a massive pile of horse pucky. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. COVID-o. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo declared major crackdown on vaccine fraud. He announced his executive order on Monday, which holds violators accountable for their actions with fines up to $1 million. Additionally, healthcare providers found guilty of fraud will have to have their state licenses revoked. Now, what's interesting here is the issue appears to be that this Parcare Community Health Network was distributing vaccines that were illegally obtained and distributed. I don't know how they illegally obtained and distributed vaccines, but what I do know is that this certainly seems to set the stage for having legal action and fines against those that illegally distribute the vaccine, which could very easily turn into illegally state they've received the vaccine. I'd be very interested to see the wording in this major crackdown on vaccine fraud in his executive order, because it's just a hop, skip, and a jump from there to saying, oh, you gave that person the wrong vaccine, or you gave that person the vaccine that you acquired illegally, to saying, oh, you have a piece of paper that says you took the vaccine when you didn't. Let's be honest, that's the camp I'm going to be in. And I think my screen's going to lock up again. There we go. The Blaze. Spain to register people who refuse the coronavirus vaccine and share the data with other countries. That's fabulous. register people who refuse the coronavirus vaccine and share that data with other countries. Spain plans to set up a register of people who refuse to receive a vaccination for the coronavirus and share it with officials in other European Union nations, the country's top public health official announced this week. Spain's health minister, Salvador Illa, insisted the vaccine will not be mandatory and that the list of those who refuse it will not be made public. But those claims are highly questionable given the fact that the country will essentially harass those who don't receive the vaccine by tracking them on a blacklist of sorts before sharing that list with other nations. What will be done is a register, which will be shared with our European partners, of those people who have been offered a vaccine and have simply rejected it, said the minister in an interview with La Sexta, a Spanish television channel, on Monday. It is not a document which will be made public, and it will be done with the utmost respect for data protection. I totally believe you. Thanks, Spain. This is the Moderna fact-check sheet that we saw, that I held up for you earlier. You should not get the vaccine if you had an allergic reaction or have an allergic reaction to any ingredient of the vaccine. Well, I'm allergic to bullshit, and there's a whole lot of bullshit in there, so thank you, Moderna. I won't be taking it. Messenger ribonucleic acid mRNA lipids. Polyethylene glycol, that's good stuff. Glycerol, cholesterol, diasterol, SN, glycero-3-phosphocholine, trimethamine, tromethamine, hydrochloride, acetic acid, sodium acetate, and sucrose. Sugar, thanks. No, not interested. This is the other thing. 18 years of age and older. We saw in the... Where is it? The Pfizer BioNTech, it said that it was not for people under the age of 16. Where did that go? Doesn't really matter, does it? Right here. The Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 vaccination is an unapproved vaccine. In clinical trials, approximately 20,000 individuals 16 years of age and older have received at least one dose of Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 vaccination. One dose. Remember that the course of care is 2 doses, not 1. What should I do about the side effects? Call 911. Sounds good. Love it. Keep your vaccination card. No, I don't think I will. Maybe I'll just pin a gold star to my chest. That's a good idea. Bare facts. This is... the first aid kit we make by hand in America, which is this country right here, which, believe it or not, is the country that we love, regardless of how some people might choose to paint us. This is the Bear Fac right here. It's about that big. It's got this molly field on the back, hand sewn, made in America, guaranteed forever. You got your hook and loop on the front right here. And you attach this to your chest rig, your war belt, the back of your headrest, the bulkhead in your submarine, whatever you prefer, your helicopter. Pull this open, pull the red handle, and the inner comes out of the outer. Pop this open. You got all your stuff right here. There's a lot of stuff in this kit. You've got your 1-inch surgical tape. You've got your 6-inch North American Rescue trauma bandage. You've got a small roll of duct tape right here. You've got a decompression needle. You've got an indelible ink marker, aka a Sharpie. You've got a genuine North American Rescue Generation 7 cat tourniquet. A pair of nitrile gloves, because if it's wet and not yours, don't touch it. Then down here, you've got a whole bunch of stuff. Let me just pull out what's in there. What's in the bottom. What do we have? We have Quick Clot. We have compressed gauze for wound packing. Alcohol pads. Kerlix rolled gauze. We've got 2x2s and 4x4 gauze pads, as well as a bit of instruction as well. Which, by the way, don't be reading the instructions while your buddy's bleeding to death, okay? You want to do that beforehand. You've got an emergency blanket for hypothermia, which This seems like a throwaway, but for every 1 degree of body temperature that your body experiences, you have half of the clotting capability. So if you're dealing with a traumatic bleed, you want to keep the casualty warm because they go into a death spiral. As their body cools, their body also loses its ability to clot effectively, and that's a bad thing because we're trying to stop bleeding, right? So blanket right here. We've got a triangle bandage here as well. And then in the back here, you have this pouch back here as well. This is what we call the stack. You've got your 7 1/4 inch North American Rescue trauma shears. You've got your nasal pharyngeal airway 28 French with Surgilube. You've got 2 5x9 gauze pads, and you've got 2 high fin chest seals. That's everything that comes in the kit. That's the Bearfac, exceeds military specification, designed and refined with input from United States Special Forces, deployed on 4 continents with 4 branches of U.S. Armed Services. 13 lives that we know of saved to date with this kit right here. Guaranteed forever. If you break it, I'll send you another one. If you use it to save a life, I will replace the contents that you used to save that life for free at my cost. You can and should use promo code BEARNATION. You can go to refugemedical.com, or you can also get these at bearindependent.com, but we're really trying to build refugemedical.com, so you can go to refugemedical.com, get the Bearfac, use promo code BEARNATION for 10% off. And listen, the world is a crazy place right now, and you should probably have a first aid kit on hand. They come in all the colors as well. There we go. That's all back in the kit. Just like that. Boom, all back in the kit. They come in, let's see, the colors are, we got red, black, OD green, coyote tan, gray, multicam, Marpat woodland, and then you can also get the crash kit, which is red. The crash kit outer pouch is designed a bit differently. It has a plastic insert in the back of the pouch that makes it more rigid. So there you go, put back together. In the back of the pouch, there's a plastic insert so that you can take the inner out and run screws through the back of the pouch to hard mount it to something. And it's also got 6 reinforced tabs around the outside if you need to paracord or bungee cord lash it to something, like your race car, literally, or your Baja truck, which is how we came up with the crash kit in the first place. So, what's up, Devin? Anyway, this is the Bearfac, refugemedical.com, which is this right here, refugemedical.com. I appreciate y'all. Moving right along. And let's see. Click the new tab. So we've got, talked about the vaccine. Segment 2, Cocaine Mitch blocks $2,000 checks to the peasantry. What do you think about that, Leslie W? What do you think about that? Holy cow, look at that chat fly by. See this? You see this going on over here? This is why when people are like, Barry, you didn't read my comment. Do you see how fast that's moving? And bless y'all, I appreciate that. Phelps, Dudley, bless you. Anyone looking for a mag in northern Michigan? I'm actually not. Thanks, though. Good morning, Mouse. Diggin', what's up, Diggin'? Jody Whipple's here. David H., hit the like button. I can't, man. It's my chat. I'm not, but I appreciate that. Thank you. Earl's daughter, good morning. David H., Brandon Sweeney, Cody Willis. Hey, what's up, Cody Willis? Daisy's here. Crack on with Nowak. Trader, bought and paid for. China. I think you're talking about Cocaine Mitch. Sounds like you're talking about Cocaine Mitch. Let's talk a little bit about Cocaine Mitch over here. Coronavirus, here we go. McConnell introduces competing bill for $2,000 stimulus checks. Look at this dude. U.S. President Donald Trump speaks alongside Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell as they hold a meeting about tax reform in the Roosevelt Room. Tax reform. Oh, I totally believe you. I totally believe you. Tax reform. From the blaze, in an effort to compete with the Democrat-approved bill, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell introduced his own bill to provide $2,000 stimulus checks. McConnell proposed the new bill on Tuesday, shortly after he rejected a request for unanimous consent on the House's bill. Unlike the Democrat-approved bill, however, McConnell's version would repeal Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. Additionally, it would set up a commission to study voter fraud. This came after Senator Bernie Sanders vowed to delay a vote to override President Trump's veto of the NDAA until the Senate votes on the stimulus payments. McConnell's bill could provide a workaround to that filibuster. So here from Trump, unless Republicans have a death wish, and it is also the right thing to do, they must approve the $2,000 payments ASAP. $600 is not enough. Also, get rid of Section 230. Don't let big tech steal our country, and don't let the Democrats steal the presidential election. Get tough. So, maybe Cocaine Mitch here is seeing the light. Maybe. This is why I'm not a diplomat, because the way that I would interface with an individual such as this is to, say, encounter them in a dark hallway or an alley somewhere and just have a little talk with them. Maybe Trump had a little talk with them. I don't know. But it appears that what Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is doing here is in line with what the president is requesting. $2,000 payments, getting rid of Section 230, and a committee? What is it? The words, there we go. Repeal Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, set up a commission to study voter fraud. There you go. Now, as far as the efficacy of yet another federal commission, I don't know. And just a matter of time before that's compromised as well. I mean, think about it. Mitch, tied to China, Mitch would very likely be on the commission to study voter fraud. If anything, what it might do is create an opportunity to cover up Chinese involvement with voter fraud. And over here we got Senator Marsha Blackburn opposes $2,000 stimulus payments, warns of a pathway to guaranteed minimum income, which I think is a valid argument. Again, we don't all have to agree on everything, but we can certainly, I can't tell you what to think. I shouldn't tell you what to think, but we could perhaps think about what to think about. Senator Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee on Monday declared her opposition to a plan to increase the $600 stimulus payments to Americans who qualify to $2,000, warning that such handouts could lead to guaranteed minimum income, UBI, Universal Basic Income, which is certainly a darling project of the left. It's in line with Agenda 2030. It's in line with the World Economic Forum's Great Reset. And it would totally, it would be, in my opinion, the death blow to an already essentially worthless fiat currency. When everybody has money, nobody has money. When everything's special, nothing's special. I don't want to pay $19 for a loaf of bread, please and thank you. Which is why we have more wheat, I think is how you pronounce it, there's an H in there, more wheat than I will very likely ever need in my entire life. Ever. Praise the Father. Blackburn, speaking on Fox Business Network, criticized Democrats for refusing to compromise with Republicans over the summer and yada, 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 blah, 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 blah. You could have had a lot more money than $2,000 in the pocket of hardworking Americans, Blackburn said. Now, we know that the Democrats are trying to do this. To do with this is to put us on a pathway to a guaranteed minimum income, which is one of their socialist agenda items. Agreed. On Monday, House Democrats rushed to pass a bill to amend the COVID-19 relief package and the omnibus spending bill signed by President Donald Trump, increasing direct payments to many Americans from $600 to $2,000 per individual. unless that individual is me, in which case I'll be getting $0 of it. President Donald Trump has thrown his support behind the measure, but while there are several Republican senators who support the increase, like Senator Josh Hawley, Republican from Missouri, there are still those like Blackburn who are wary of having the government send direct payments to people instead of more targeted relief. And it goes on from there. I agree that the best course of action is to open up all the bad words I want to say, madre freaking economy, and let people do their jobs. People should not have to ask permission from their keepers to be allowed to feed their families. 1 Timothy 5 verse 8, he who does not work has denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. I don't need your permission to feed my family. Please and thank you. I've seen a lot of people, getting back to the introduction to this broadcast, I've seen a lot of people saying what we need is a return to this great experiment in limited government and self-government. Self-government. Show me where, even prior to COVID, hell, prior to World War II, we've had limited government and self-governance. We haven't. This is one of my issues. Let's not make light of the fact that from a governmental overreach standpoint, we were already in the midst of a dumpster fire before COVID-19, before Donald Trump. Also, for those that don't know, drain the swamp is literally a tactic. It's a phrase that's used to describe a tactic when fighting insurgents. Now, I find it very interesting that that's the phrase that Donald Trump used to describe what he planned to do in D.C. Now, D.C. is a swamp, literally and figuratively, and draining it makes a lot of sense, but it's military doctrine. FML 3-24, Tactics and Counterinsurgency, drain the swamp. It's a legitimate tactic. The swamp is still full of swamp creatures. We shouldn't need permission from anybody to go to work to feed our families. And if we do, if Donald Trump does maintain his office on the 6th of January, wonderful. What do we do to continue to push back that governmental overreach? Things were not great before Donald Trump, and while they were certainly better under Donald Trump, they're still not ideal. I think the best way to fix all of this is to leave people the hell alone and let them suffer the consequences of their actions, understanding that, yes, not everybody starts from the same place in life. Certainly some people have greater challenges than others, and I'm not making light of that. But I think the best way to empower those, everybody from the people who are legitimately impoverished and who are struggling to those that were born with a silver spoon in their mouth, is to get the hell out of the way and let them exercise agency over themselves and the God-given life that they have to better themselves. And then voluntarily, if I choose to bless somebody, to pour into somebody, to make a charitable donation to something, to help somebody, to give freely of my blood, sweat, tears, treasure, time, skills, abilities, giftings, talents, and delights, then so be it. But I should not be mandated to pour out of my bank account into the federal government's bank account to then trust that they will use great discretion when they disperse those funds, which clearly they don't. They'll use great discretion when they disperse those funds to have the most impact on those who need it the most greatly. Negative, they don't operate that way. I don't think they ever have operated that way. What we have now is not, again, it is not a constitutional representative republic. We don't have that. We're supposed to have that per our founding documents, which is why one could make the argument right now we're not even in rule of law because nobody's following the law. Or they make their own new laws, which because of the supremacy clause should not supersede the highest law of the land, the United States Constitution. But since the Constitution is not actually tried as law, there are rulings on it, but it's not been tried in a court of law as law. Doesn't matter. They just do what they want to do. All that to say, open up the freaking economy and let people go to work and do their job. President Trump, unsurprisingly, Gallup's poll, most admired man in 2020. Annual poll conducted by Gallup revealed President Trump is the most admired man in 2020. The recently released survey showed the president garnered 18% of the vote. The poll is conducted every year when Gallup asks Americans who their favorite man is out front of everyone living in the world. Out of everyone living in the world. Historically, Americans vote for the incumbent president. However, this is President Trump's 10th time on the top 10 list of most admired men. 4 of those instances occurred before he even entered party politics. Interesting. And then getting back to wasteful spending, the $1.4 trillion omnibus bill faces backlash for wasteful spending. And of course, we've got a picture of Senator Rand Paul here. The newly signed omnibus bill has been under fire for allocating billions of dollars to overseas spending. GOP lawmakers are fighting against wasteful spending measures in the Consolidated Appropriations Act and calling on Congress to focus on helping Americans weather the pandemic. Let us go back to work. There is no pandemic. There is no pandemic. See this again. Both sides have a narrative. Both sides have their own political purposes, their own goals. This is a false paradigm here. There is no pandemic. Let people go back to work. We saw this when we reported on the report from Iron Mountain. The military-industrial complex. What is the best way to continue to grow the economy? You need large-scale problems that can be solved with the expertise of the military-industrial complex. Operation Warp Speed, anybody? Large, unattainable goals. This is just a new front in a new war that doesn't actually matter. It doesn't exist. There is no pandemic. Have 300,000 people died in the United States? Yeah, question mark. If you can even believe those numbers, which, as we've seen, the World Health Organization flip-flops about every 15 to 30 days. The CDC flip-flops about every 15 to 30 days, depending on what we're talking about. Yet we're supposed to take the numbers that they print as gospel. Roger that. There's no pandemic. 6 million people got the swine flu. 6 million people got the swine flu. We didn't shut the country down. We didn't social distance. We didn't wear masks. We didn't destroy the economy. COVID-19, the pandemic of COVID-19, is cover for action for the Great Reset. It's straight up from the World Economic Forum's own website on the front page of their homepage. COVID-19 is cover for action for the Great Reset. We've been saying for 10 months that this pandemic is being used to crash land the world's economies. We've not been wrong. And what do we get now again? The other side of this false narrative. On the one side, you've got the Democrats who are pushing to give money away to everybody that they can, not just the American taxpayers and the American citizens, but, Ethiopia, Egypt, Syria, everybody. Transfer of wealth from the United States to everybody. And then on the other side of that argument, you've got the Republicans saying, well, we shouldn't be giving away that much money to everybody because of this pandemic. You shouldn't be giving away money at all. And there is no pandemic. Leave people alone. Let us do our jobs. We do not require your permission to exist. And this is what I mean in the intro when I say I can stand up against tyranny and say no without resorting immediately to throwing my plate carrier on and chambering around. This is a completely false narrative. The newly signed omnibus bill has been under fire for allocating billions of dollars to overseas spending. GOP lawmakers are fighting against wasteful spending measures in the Consolidated Appropriations Act and calling on Congress to focus on helping Americans weather the pandemic. In a recent report, the Heritage Foundation called the nearly 6,000-page bill an irresponsible use of taxpayer dollars. It cited the lack of focus. The 6,000-page bill we're in without rule of law. We're there. Maybe that changes on the 6th of January, but we're there. An irresponsible use of taxpayer dollars. It cited a lack of focus on COVID-19 tests and the inclusion of politically motivated industry bailouts. No shit, Sherlock. This came after President Trump criticized the amount of funds dedicated to foreign programs. Why are there funds in the first place? Your American taxpayer dollars going anywhere but in the United States of America. If, and we're not, but if we're in the midst of the worst pandemic to ever hit the United States of America, if this is literally life and death, and if the economy is vitally important, which I do believe it is, shouldn't every single one of those dollars be dispersed within the 50 states of these United States of America? Now, I don't believe it's the government's job to be giving handouts to anybody, whether you're an LLC or a corporation or an S-corp or an individual at all. Yet here they are. And just to be clear, even when it comes to grants, I'd like everybody to know that the grants that we use when we train law enforcement, military, firefighters, EMS, faith groups, those are all privatized grants. Privatized grants, because people somewhere figured out how to navigate this ridiculous system and still earn enough money that they have money left over to then bless people with voluntarily. Those are privatized grants. And I'll tell you, Firehouse Subs is one of the best companies that we work with when it comes to privatized grants. So if you've ever wondered, hey, should I get a sandwich from that place? Yeah. They're awesome. They're awesome behind the scenes. Privatized grants, not federal grants. Trump criticized the amount of funds dedicated to foreign programs in the $1.4 trillion package during a time when American families are struggling amid oppressive pandemic lockdowns. Then end the effing lockdowns. The president went on to call the bill a disgrace and asserted the American people deserve better. Then do it. The bill also allows stimulus checks for the family members of illegal aliens, allowing them to get up to $1,800 each. This is far more than Americans are given. On the Senate floor, Senator Rand Paul criticized massive spending in the COVID-19 relief package, depicting it as fiscally irresponsible. Quote, the government has worsened the economic damage and acted as the biggest obstacle to economic recovery, Paul said. There is no free money that can get us out of this situation. The only thing that can save us is to open the economy. Agreed. Paul warned the massive bill, the largest ever passed in congressional history, could lead to more lockdowns, economic damage, job losses, and general suffering for hardworking Americans. Let's just go over here www.weforum.org right here. So, agenda, Fourth Industrial Revolution. This is the World Economic Forum. What happens when I click this? Great Reset. From the worldeconomicforum.org, The Great Reset. And YouTube, I'm just documenting here. I'm just documenting the world that we live in. There is an urgent need for global stakeholders to cooperate in simultaneously managing the direct consequences of the COVID-19 crisis. To improve the state of the world Economic Forum is starting the Great Reset Initiative. We've talked about this over and over and over again. This right here, I believe, is why they need our country shut down. They need our economic backbone broken because it's your industriousness and the fruit of your blood, sweat, and tears that allows you to have standoff capability against tyranny. And if they can break you of that, it's one less thing that the big they have to worry about. This is what I'm saying as addressed in the intro. This is much, much bigger than any of us can imagine. They have their lines of effort. They're right here. Harnessing the Fourth Industrial Revolution, strengthening regional development, revitalizing global cooperation, developing sustainable business models, restoring the health of the environment, redesigning social contract skills and jobs, and shaping the economic recovery. We already talked about stakeholder capitalism, i.e. socialism. Can't have socialism in America if we're all a bunch of independent free thinkers out there making our own way. Got to have a collective in order to have socialism. And so if we just click shaping the economic recovery, we get inclusive design, taxation, public finance and social protection, COVID-19, global governance, workforce and employment, geoeconomics, the future of economic progress, environment and natural resource security, air pollution, and the future of mobility. Sir, you can't get on this plane, train, automobile because you have not received your COVID-19 vaccination. Sorry, sir, you can't enter the workplace. You can't walk into the factory, the bank, the grocery store, the governmental buildings because you haven't received your vaccination from COVID-19, which is why we're going to tax you because we now exert global governance, which means that you can only engage in the workforce and enjoy employment if it suits our geoeconomic model, which is the future of economic progress. In their own words, from their own website, right here in front of your eyes, they know what their lines of effort are. They understand the logistics and the provisions required to enact those lines of effort. I have seen none of this from any of us. And I'm not telling you I have the answers because I don't. I'll be the first one to admit it. But I am telling you something like this must exist for us before guys in plate carriers and ARs show up to handle the problem. Because what's next? What's next after that? Think. Think before you act. Moving along. Maybe you are a guy in a plate carrier, or you need to be a guy in a plate carrier. AdventureFrontier.com are our friends. You can see right here, you've got the Bare Fac and the Bare Minimum are available at their website. Right here, the best first aid kits on the planet. You've also got your Spartan armor right here, single curve, triple curbs, swimmer's cut, MOPC, Ranger, Carrier, anti-spall coating, level 3 plus, level 4, AR 500, 550, AR 600, ceramic plates. They got all that stuff at AdventureFrontier.com. We love them. They're awesome people. They've also got your fluffy bunnies. And listen, if you don't know about fluffy bunnies, you don't have need to know about fluffy bunnies, and you need to just leave it at that before it bites you in the ass. All right? All right. But if you're read in on fluffy bunnies, you can get some here. $3 for the sticker, $8 for a glow-in-the-dark patch. How badass is that? That's awesome. Excellent prices on the plate carrier kits that you've got here. With your armor, the carrier, the whole nine. $239 with Condor MOPC. The MOPC is $90 in of itself. That's an awesome deal. With front and side plates, that's an awesome deal. So you can use promo code BearNation here for $10 off your armor. Go to Adventure Frontier. Tell them you love them. Tell them Bear sent you. Check them out. Let's go see what's going on in the chat over here. 1,284 peeps. 745 likes. Matt Storms, good morning, Storms. Tommy Salter, good morning again. The Kraken's message has been held for review by Earl's daughter. Good job, Earl's daughter. Because Fluffy Bunny's a native Viking. Cat is here. Good morning, Cat. I got me a Fluffy Bun Bun. Brad Spriggs is here. MJ, the Swamp Bucker. Lieutenant Smash. The damn Yankees here. Good morning, the damn Yankee. How we all doing? Little checkup. 774 likes. Hey, listen. Smash that thumbs up if you can. That helps us greatly in our battle against the YouTube algorithmic robots. They, how dare you? J.A. How dare you? How dare you? Joshua Pole's here. Carla's here. Doug Bucher digging Old Devil Dog. Good morning, Old Devil Dog. James Strawn, American Patriot, D.L. Hemingway, Draco, Shalom, West Virginia Farmer's Daughter, Carlos, how dare you, Carlos, Nicole, good morning, Nicole, Larry's here, Thomas is here, Brandon is here, it's good to know, appreciate y'all. So, in this segment of the report now begins with, this portion is called Death from the Sun. We're going to get a little interstellar, boys and girls. And this portion is titled, Bill Gates is just as weird as we think he is. Yes, that is the title of this portion. Bill Gates is just as weird as we think he is. Now, I've heard it said on other channels that if you pronounce this guy's last name, they'll take you down. Well, shit, they've already taken us down. So... whatever. This is why it's actually really important that you share this content if you believe in it. That helps us greatly because the YouTube algorithm doesn't like us at all anymore. The good news is this guy here, Bill Gates, he's going to save us. He knows what he's doing. His plans, his goals are this big, y'all. You see this? Is like, I want this many people on the planet right here. I'm not talking about depopulation. I just want as many people will fit in between my right hand and my left hand left on the planet. That's it. That's what he's talking about currently. From the Blaze, a bizarre-sounding plan to save Earth funded by tech guru Bill Gates is quietly moving forward. The plan, to dim the sun's rays and their impact on Earth, is reportedly all in the name of helping to revitalize the environment and thus save the human race. What did I just show you with the World Economic Forum? Revitalize the environment, restoring the health of the environment. Let's look at that. What do we get there? Restoring the health of the environment. The ocean, the future of energy, the future of mobility, Green New Deals, plural, not one new deal, Green New Deals, which as we all know is transfer of wealth and socialism. Climate indicators, plastic in the environment, air pollution, not what Gates is spraying in the air, but everything else. Air pollution, environment and natural resources security, a circular economy, climate change, sustainable development, biodiversity. COVID-19 is tied to restoring the health of the environment. A newsflash, COVID-19 is tied to all of this because it is the strategic imperative for the Great Reset. The future of health and healthcare, and public finance and social protection, meaning that if you're not concerned about the health of the environment with your capitalistic endeavors, you're not going to have access to public finance and social protection. Yeah, check that out. Yeah, listen here, she. The plan to dim the sun's rays and their impact on the earth is reportedly all in the name of helping to revitalize the environment and thus save the human race. The billionaire philanthropist is set on saving the earth no matter the cost. Quote, while you may have been paying attention to Gates' efforts on vaccination and lockdowns, yes, we have, you may not have noticed that one of Gates' most controversial causes just got a go-ahead. A project that would help block out the sun, the Western Journal's Douglas Golden wrote. Reuters reported that the geoengineering plan, a Harvard University project funded largely by Gates, quote, plans to test out a controversial theory that global warming can be stopped by spraying particles into the atmosphere that would reflect the sun's rays. I gotta stay in my house and not go to work and not go to the store and wear a mask and social distance and get some bullshit shot in my arm because I might do harm to somebody else with a virus that has a 99.98 something percent survivability rate amongst those who contract the disease. But this asshole can spray a bunch of shit up in the air, and he's a hero? My point exactly. This is bigger than any of us thinks that it is. The news organization reported that the Swedish Space Corporation has already taken strides in testing out the theory. Quote, open-air research into spraying tiny sun-reflecting particles into the stratosphere to offset global warming has been stalled for years by controversies, including that it could discharge needed cuts in greenhouse gas emissions. In a small step, the Swedish Space Corporation agreed this week to help Harvard researchers launch a balloon near the Arctic town of Kiruna next June. It would carry a gondola with 600 kilograms of scientific equipment 20 kilometers or 12 miles high. Golden also cited journal Nature, which broke the plan down into a more easily comprehensible terms. The idea is simple. Spray a bunch of particles into the stratosphere and they will cool the planet by reflecting some of the sun's rays back into space. Scientists have already witnessed the principle in action. I don't want you spraying a bunch of particles into the stratosphere. Quote, when Mount Pinatubo erupted in the Philippines in 1991, it injected an estimated 20 million tons of sulfur dioxide into the stratosphere, the atmospheric layer that stretches from about 10 to 50 kilometers above the Earth's surface. The eruption created a haze of sulfate particles that cooled the planet by around 0.5 degrees Celsius. For about 18 months, Earth's average temperature returned to what it was before the arrival of the steam engine. Reuters reported that the plan could move forward in the autumn of 2021 or spring of 2022 and would release a tiny amount of non-toxic calcium carbonate dust into the atmosphere to test the theory. More cover for action. This is a slippery slope towards engineering the climate. Niklas Hallström, director of the Sweden-based environmentalist think tank What Next? Told Reuters there is no merit in this test except to enable the next step. You can't test the trigger of a bomb and say this can't possibly do any harm. Agreed, Hallström. Lili Forda, who's the head of the International Environmental Policy Division at Heinrich Böll Foundation in Germany, said that the project is indeed crossing an important political red line. They don't want to stop at this small experiment. The reason is to get bigger experiments, she explained. So that's great. Here's the thing. A lot of scientists disagree with the premise that the planet's getting warmer in the first place. I'm not a scientist, but I disagree with it. We're an hour and 10 minutes in already. Okay, well, we will move quickly. Science Times right here. Scientists warn a prolonged solar minimum is coming. Wait a minute, I thought the planet was getting hotter. According to experts, the sun has now started a period of low activity which has been associated with collapsing temperatures. Wait, what? Oh, you mean global warming is covered for action to spray a bunch of shit into the atmosphere? Got it. The scientists say that this change could last for over a decade. Astronomers pointed out that the sun has now gone 15 consecutive days without the occurrence of sunspots. This has marked 58% of the days of 2019 with a lack of sunspots. The cycle that the sun follows entails 11 years where the sun would reach a solar maximum and will later shift into its solar minimum. When it's at the solar maximum, the sun would get off more heat. It is also frequented by a higher number of sunspots. Space Weather reports a cosmic forecasting site. They have observed that the sun has been without spots for 15 consecutive days, which points to the start of a solar minimum. Yada, 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 blah, 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 solar minimum. According to the scientific community, the sun was not expected to head into a solar minimum until 2020. Well, guess what? It's now 2020. However, the solar minimum has started early. Experts state this would mean a prolonged cold snap for the planet. Wait a minute, I thought it was hot. That's why we're spraying a bunch of garbage into the air. Nope. The experts feel that it is important to point out that the last time there was a prolonged solar minimum, a mini ice age occurred, which lasted for 70 years. The 7 decades of freezing weather, known as the Maunder Minimum, lasted from 1645 to 1715. During this time, there was a very low occurrence of sunspots. In addition, global temperatures during the time dropped by 1.3 degrees Celsius that have shortened seasons and have affected the food chain that ultimately led to food shortages. How interesting. We actually touched on that in the intro under what comes next, food scarcity. And then, of course, for those that are readers of the Word, we have from prophecyprove.org, Revelation 6, 5, and 6, key verses trying to quantify the cost of food in end times. 5, and when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances, scales in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the 4 beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. Well, interestingly, depending on which translation you're reading, it's a denarius, and a denarius was a day's wage. I don't know how much you earn in a day, but it's entirely possible that your day's wage gets you a measure of wheat. Right here, we see that the measure is from this Greek word, which is equivalent to a dry quart. A dry quart of wheat is approximately enough to make 1.5 to 1 7/8 loaves of 1 pound bread, or the average amount of bread a person living in the Roman Empire ate per day. So enough, you will trade your day's wage for enough wheat to make a loaf of bread for you. That's an indicator. Maunder minimum, shortened growing seasons. Here we are, death by sun. Thank you, Bill Gates. GrindstoneMinistries.com is right here. We'll leave that up while we read the silver linings. Actually, you know what? We'll do the grindstone stuff first and then read our silver linings as we bring this report to a close. Also, I would encourage you, tomorrow evening, we will be live ringing in the new year and or going to bed early because we're old. But we will be live streaming from my porch tomorrow evening here on YouTube. So if you find that type of thing enjoyable, you can tune in tomorrow evening for that. And I will be live on Patreon tomorrow morning for coffee time with Bear as well. So I'll see y'all there. Grindstone Ministries is our charitable organization. We are engaged in the rescuing and rehabilitation of victims of human trafficking and sex crimes. If you'd like to partner with us in that, you can go to grindstoneministries.com, learn more. We've got a newsletter that comes out. We don't spam you with that. We don't sell your information. We don't do any of that. You can sign up for the newsletter here. There's also a donate now button if you'd like. And we are 100% funded by y'all, and I appreciate you deeply. So thank you. We've got really big things coming up in 2021. The building of Caleb House, which will be a dedicated facility for rehabilitating and reintegrating survivors of human trafficking. Average victim is between 8 and 12 years old. The average survivor, I have to get better at using that terminology, the average survivor has been raped 30 times, between 8 and 12 years old. The average perpetrator is responsible for 70 individuals. 70. There's a Torah for that. And just wait until there is no rule of law. That's all I'm saying there. GrindstoneMinistries.com. Disaster Coffee. To these guys right here, this is their Plandemic blend. I love it. It rocks. You can get it at disastercoffee.com. They're big supporters of the show. They started their small business specifically to earn revenue that they could then tithe, that they could then gift and donate to people. One of those peoples is us at Grindstone. They have really good coffee. I like this rapid response. It's really good. And right up here, where's their pandemic? Where'd it go? Well, anyway, the bunker beans. If you're storing coffee long term, you got 5-pound bag of beans right here that they're green beans, meaning you'd roast them when they're ready to be used. You can store them in Mylar and buckets, and they'll last essentially forever. Free shipping, $35 for some 5 pounds of coffee beans. Really not bad at all. So, disastercoffee.com. Amendment 1 preparedness for all your prepper commo needs. You can see right here all their canned ham radios. These things are awesome. We have many of these. We use them all the time. We love them. They rock. It's a ham radio inside of an ammo can. You can see the radio is mounted inside the ammo can. It's got a speaker in there, battery backup, a voltmeter, a jack for your headphone, a jack for your antenna, your microphone, all of that. And it all folds up and fits inside of a weather-tight ammo can. Super cool. Some of these kits can be integrated with 12-volt systems so that you have, if you have solar backup or battery backup, I mean, these things are really well built. You can see the battery inside of here, and here's the speaker, here's the radio. They're absolutely awesome, and they're reasonably priced for what you're getting. So, and again, another American small business, great supporter of Grindstone, so check them out at amendment1preparedness.com. Amendment, the number 1 preparedness right here. The freedom of speech when you need it most. I like that. And then lastly, but not leastly, over here, hey, I know this person. Hey, I know that person. Hey, I know that person. SanctifiedSupplyCo.com. If you're a human that wears clothes, you might want to get some clothes from SanctifiedSupplyCo.com. Stay humble and kind. a reminder that I need all the time. A shirt that I'm wearing currently. Now, this guy here weighs about 34% of what I weigh, but that's okay. Clearly, they come in all different sizes. And they've got your stickers, they've got your patches, they've got your stuff. And right here, help raise money for Caleb House. If you wanted to get an Iron Sharpens Iron shirt or an Iron Sharpens Iron hoodie, those are available from sanctifiedsupplyco.com. $25 on the t-shirt, $55 on the hoodie. And the proceeds from that benefit Caleb House, which we're building with Grindstone Ministries. So appreciate y'all very much. Let's do some silver linings. So these come from intel at bearindependent.com. So this is the good news. This is the stuff that we've all been waiting for, that we need to hear every day. So if you have silver linings for us, please send them to intel at bearindependent.com. There's also if we go to www.bearindependent.com, it didn't go. There it goes. So if you go to the contact form over here, right here, contact Bear Independent, Intel. So if you have something you'd like to send in as well, you can drop it right here in the Intel box, and that'll go straight to the Dance Monkeys at Bear Independent, our Intel staff. So, silver linings. Quote, we have about 3 months of food so far and are continuing to stack it to the rafters. Also, we welcomed a baby boy last week in the comfort of our own home. Have formed a homeschooling group which will focus on bushcraft and survival that is mask and vax free in its members, which is growing and invite only and off grid. We have people from all walks of life and new to this movement. So although we're newbies to prepping, we're hiring experts in each field to teach us and our children how to survive what's coming. That's awesome. Good job. Next point. For the first time, my sister and brother-in-law have acknowledged the information I have been conveying for years concerning prepping might actually be needed. Thank you to all whose commitment is to good and to right. Cool. Next point. A Bear Independent video covering the Gospel of Matthew auto-played after one of the preparedness videos and reached a practicing Wiccan of almost 20 years. Quote, I'd never read these beforehand. Quote, the next day, I went out and purchased my own Bible and started reading it for the first time. It took me 2 days to finish the Gospel of Matthew. And that's all it took to convert me away from paganism and back to Christianity. That night, I threw out all the books and false idols I had collected over the past 2 decades. And I unpublished my books on Wicca and witchcraft. This caused my income to take quite a hit, as these books were by far my most popular sellers. But after reading the words of Jesus, I couldn't stomach the idea of continuing to encourage others to practice something that so clearly goes against all of his teachings. I just wanted to thank you for your unwavering persistence in reading and preaching his word on your videos. I've been watching you for almost a year before your words truly broke through and convinced me to pick up a Bible. As many have said before, I started watching you for the preparedness videos, but I stayed for your Bible study. It's so helpful the way you explain his word in a way I can understand. Thank you for not giving up, for continuing to try to reach all the lost sheep in your path. His words through your mouth are truly converting pagans and witches. Thank you for all you do, and God bless. Man, somebody's cutting onions in here. All praise to the Most High, brother. I'm living proof that if he can use me, he can use anybody. Wicked in witchcraft, covered in satanic tattoos. Spent a decade in apostasy. Played drums in metal bands. If it's bad or wrong, I've done it. And yet and still I could not outrun his love for me. That if I would simply turn teshuvah, turn back to him, he would receive me. I'm honored that this little YouTube channel was able to touch your life. That's not because I'm awesome, it's because he's awesome. But thank you for sharing that with me. Let's talk to the Father. Good morning, Father Yah. Father, thank you for striving with us. Father, thank you for speaking to us in ways that we can understand, for going deep with us, for relentlessly pursuing us, and for proving over and over and over again that your arms are longer than our legs, that if we would just simply turn to you and repent, Father, not just with our mouths, but with our actions, with our deeds in submission to you. Father, thank you for using broken people to accomplish your will, and for unbreaking the broken by the blood of Messiah. Father, you are truly awesome. You are absolutely, truly awesome, incomprehensibly awesome, and I don't have words for how thankful I am that you would tarry with me, that you would use us, that you would use this little channel to touch so many lives. And I'm humbled by it, and I thank you for it. Father, all those who are struggling with you, I lift them up to you. I lay them at your feet, and I ask you to just continue to manifest yourself in their life in ways that are undeniable, that they would experience you, that undeniably they would see you, that they would know and understand, that their eyes would be open, that their ears would be open, and that you would plow the field of their heart to receive your seed. That it would be obvious that it's nothing but you, that you would literally, miraculously be indwelt in their lives. Father Yah, if there's anything within the sound of my voice that is not of you, we rebuke it in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach and command it to flee. Father, I pray that you would fill us up with your Ruach HaKodesh, your Holy Spirit, for wisdom and discernment, for strength and power and authority, for healing and for peace that surpasses all understanding. I pray that you would guard our hearts and our thoughts, that you would direct our feet, that you would use us to be your hands here on earth, to minister to your people, and to perform the works for your kingdom, to steward this place until you come back again and set it all to rights. I pray that you would be near to us in these uncertain times, that you would give us fortitude, that you would give us sound counsel, that we would know how to walk. And I thank you for giving us a life and teaching us how to live it, and redeeming that life back to you through Yeshua HaMashiach. Father, thank you for struggling with me. Thank you for never giving up on me. Father, thank you. Father, I lift all these people within the sound of my voice up to you. And I lay them at the foot of your throne. And I ask that you would protect them and bless them and guide them this day. And Father, that you would give us our daily bread, and that we would be mindful of you and obedient to you. And I ask all these things in the mighty name of Yeshua HaMashiach. Amen. I'm out. Bless y'all, Bear Nation. Have an awesome day. Shalom.